Do you believe that the law needs to update its definition of words like harassment and consent, now more so in the age of MeToo and digital social media? A lot of times I feel that consent is defined a lot from potential offender's point of view rather than from the victim's point of view. And that's why whenever a woman comes out with a story, a lot of people say or believe that, no, we think you consented, or we think that you were not harassed. And I always ask, who gets to define these words? I look at Sexual Offences Act 2003, Section 74. It says that the prosecution will have to establish, whether there was lack of consent. But then the most important point is, how do we define consent? Does the law not need to be clear about that?
Well, let me first of all deal with the definition of consent. The myths that live in law, and it's almost everywhere, is that women say no, but they really mean yes, right? And it's part of this business of there's a courtship process in this, and therefore, women, in order to seem as though they're being they're not too easy, pretend that they don't really want it, and then and so this is read by men as therefore somehow giving them permission even when somebody's saying no. Well, I mean, we have to get the message out to our sons and to our, now it'll be for me, it'll be with my grandchildren. But you have to get the message out that is not acceptable. You have to keep saying, is this okay? Is this okay? It doesn't mean you have to get a signed form, but it does mean you can be saying to people, is this okay? And it has to be clear. If somebody is drunk, under the influence of drugs or anything like that, they are not going to be able to consent in a way that should be accepted by the courts. And we should be making that clear to everybody. And also an understanding.
There's a brilliant infographic about cups of tea.
Let me just tell you, there's
I was going to mention this. So something that we do as well with the police officers is that we have this conversation with them about consent.
Yeah.
What do the police officers think about what consent is as well? So when somebody comes into a police station and says, this is what's happened to me, and the police go, are you sure you didn't consent to that, particularly when it comes to rape? And in India, the cup of tea, as we know, is really prominent, having a cup of tea everywhere. So this is a wonderful video that you can access on YouTube, that consent is a cup of tea. And it's really simple,
very good.
and it's stick men.
It doesn't address the changes in the law that you're looking for, but it's a good start.
There's something really important
That's
here.
really quick.
Just one thing, which is that sometimes you can consent to one thing, and then somebody says turn over and wants to penetrate you somewhere else. You're entitled to say no. And so this is one of the problems, is that somehow it's assumed that it's a catch-all, that you're saying yes to everything. And that's why it's important to be doing this thing of saying, is this okay? And that saying no can mean to some part of intimacy. And sometimes, too often, women are being subjected to things that they do not want to have happening to them.